Amusement parks are often locations of fear in horror movies. When we hear about tragedy that occurs at one, we often flock to hear more about it. Why is it that a place of joy can be more interesting to us when it becomes the center of terror? We seem to have an affinity for disaster. I know I do. So join me, won't you, as we go over a few incidences that occurred at Six Flags theme parks. On August 16, 1981, a 20-year-old employee fell to his death while performing routine test runs on the wooden racing roller coaster Rolling Thunder. This one might have been user error, as investigations and comments from the park employees states that he may not have secured himself to a safety bar. On May 11, 1984, the first guest-related tragedy struck Great Adventure when the haunted house caught on fire, trapping guests inside. This time, it was the park's fault, and they were indicted for manslaughter because it wasn't up to code. Safety consultants offered repeat warnings, saying that the attraction didn't have any sprinklers or smoke alarms, and they should have been installed. The park, however, denied these claims and said that the fire was started as an act of arson and these safety precautions wouldn't have saved anyone. But really, though, why weren't they there to begin with? What had actually happened was that a light bulb went out in one of the rooms, and the guest took out a lighter to try to find his way in the dark. The lighter caught the foam rubber on the walls on fire, and it engulfed the structure rather quickly, killing 11 people. On June 17, 1987, a 19-year-old woman fell from the ride Lightnin' Loops. Later investigation found out that she wasn't properly secured to her seat, and the park's employees were to blame. The park was fined a whopping $1,000. A strange and unresolved death occurred at the ride La Vampire when a 67-year-old employee was found dead underneath the roller coaster in a restricted area. Park officials say that he was struck by the coaster, but nobody knows what he was doing in the restricted area or how he even got back there. On March 29, 1980, a 13-year-old boy was killed along with 8 others injured on the Whizzer when the two trains collided as part of a failed braking system. Further investigation discovered that 11 other incidences had occurred with the same ride between 1976 and 1979 with an unknown amount of injuries. Some incidences are guest-related. On May 2, 1999, a 17-year-old boy was stabbed while standing in the ride queue for Batman because he'd cut in line. He was rushed to the hospital where his wounds were assessed. He was cut from neck to sternum, twice on his back and on his arms. The 2 who were involved in the stabbing were arrested, but man, some people just need to get on that ride. More line-cutting ride injuries involved a man who just had to get onto the water ride Venom Drop. After pushing his way past lifeguards and the line, he dove headfirst onto the slide, where he continued to tumble over the edge and fall 60 feet onto a fence. Like common sense. On July 26, 1978, Clark Johnson and his 2 nieces were killed while riding the transportation ride Skyway. The spokesman of the park said their cable car just fell. The remaining riders were suspended up in the air and had to be rescued by firefighters. Oh good, now we can add animal incidences into the mix at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. On January 5, 1996, 2 trainers were suddenly attacked while playing with the cougars Zuni and Tonto, who became unexpectedly aggressive during playing. The trainers received severe cuts on their chest and face, and even the backup trainer received minor bruises and cuts while trying to defuse the situation. July 31, 1998, a guest was attacked by a puma. The two were hanging out in a private area for a photo op when the guest accidentally fell from the platform and landed on the puma, startling it. The trainer also sustained minor bruises and injuries while trying to free the guest. One more in June 2004, Misha, the African elephant, gored her trainer Patricia Chappell while inside of her cage. Now, while park officials say that the attack was unprovoked, there is more to the story than meets the eye. Six Flags Discovery Kingdom was on a Defense for Animals list of top 10 worst zoos for animals. 9 other elephants had died in the park before, and Misha wasn't exactly treated kindly. Over the years, Misha had been witnessed being attacked by the other elephants that left deep lacerations and internal bleeding. In order to try breeding Misha, there was an incision that got infected and was left to fester for months. She also had a lesion on her lower left jaw that was left untreated for 4 years. At one point in 2001, a vet was trying to clean the area, and the tip of his knife broke off in Misha's jaw. He said after many attempts to try to extract the knife tip, it had to be left in there. So, I'd be a mean old elephant too. Now, I'm not saying be afraid of the thrill of theme parks, and this isn't an attack on Six Flags. I promise it happens everywhere. It's just information to pique your morbid curiosity about these incidents. If the staff has been well trained, if the park rides have been secured and maintained, if you don't leave your common sense at home, you should be just fine. I think. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing for more oddities, true crime, and true horror, as well as bad horror movie reviews. Game with me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and of course, be well.